the Black police officers that talk about the internal policing and how their lives are in jeopardy. The records that we have of our own personal experiences and the people that we know that look like us are enough. So we've kicked the can down the court for another task force to study what we all know is true. And those are the things that I've been advocating for years. So now the prophetic work that we've been doing in terms of the folks who are leading the charge and making it popular now and making it acceptable now, that is leadership. It is leadership to not have to wait, but to listen to the voices of impacted people and democratically lead for them. And that's why I'm stepping into this space right now, because I haven't had to be cajoled and pulled to make this shift happen. So once again, in terms of policing, yes, I would absolutely cut the budget. I worked with the leadership team to put in the 25 million reduction in this budget cycle. And it didn't get anywhere. So while we have an opportunity to defund, we should look at the whole system that needs to be readdressed in terms of Black lives.
Thank you much, Carol. Are you back?
I am back. Thank you so much, Anthony. I now am going to turn it over to another one of our amazing young people. I think she's still on. It's not past their bedtime quite yet. It's Miss White.
Hello, my name is Tyari White. I am a second-year college student at Chappelle College. And today, city council members are responsible for supporting all of the citizens, ensuring social economic equity and opportunities for everyone in their district. There are many Black-owned businesses and organizations across the town and are doing incredible work for so many Oaklanders. Can you name specific things you've done to support Black organizations and businesses in Oakland, and what policies would you adopt as council members?
Anthony, can you please put the question in the chat box? We're going to start off with Councilmember McElhaney.
I'm sorry, Ayana, I think I led on the last one. I think this one starts. I just want to be fair. I think are we just waiting for that to go in to the...
So we can start with Mr. Scott and give him a second.
I can go. I heard it. It's fine. Black businesses, make sure we win. How do we win, right? Okay, 2 minutes. So I'm a small business owner myself. And it's hard. This year was devastating for anybody who had a festival. Luckily, we got Black Joy Parade off just in the nick of time. But for the rest of us, it has been a very tough year for many of our small businesses. So one thing we need to do is make sure that we have funds to access. And right now, I'm really focused on survival. I don't anticipate any abundance of funds for Black businesses, unfortunately, when we have to right now house many people and provide urgent services, not only to people who are currently outside, but people who are on the fringes of being outside. So we have to triage right now. So for Black businesses, we need to help the ones who are there right now stay alive. We need to help support them where having fancy lawyers and having a team of people who understand this very complicated tax code or the ever-evolving loan structure and support. We need support for that, helping people file for those paperwork so they don't get left behind. We need better advocacy for our small businesses. And we need to focus on making sure that we're not just bringing large corporations to our city. We have a proud reputation in Oakland of small businesses employing our community. I think we need to double down on that for our economic rehabilitation of our city if we want to create a place that I want to continue to live at and own a business at. So in short, I'll say that we need to support each other. We need to keep our dollars circulating in our community. We need to keep our Black dollars circulating in our Black community. And we need to do the things that we know. We are good business people. We are incredible good business people. And let's live up to that promise and help each other win.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. One time.
Thank you so much. Carol Fife, I'm sorry, candidates try to get on, so I'm trying to help them get on. I know we're at max capacity. But Carol, would you like to go next?
Yes, please restate the question.
Anthony?
So can you name specific things you've done to support Black organizations and businesses in Oakland? And what policies would you adopt as a councilman?
Oh, there's actually been a lot. I don't have enough time to list them, but I'll list some key things. One of the things that I've done on a regular basis is advocate for prompt payments to our local nonprofits that actually do the service work of the city of Oakland. I've been very active at the Workforce Investment Board level to ensure that our nonprofits are paid on time, because they provide services that actually put Oakland residents to work. And oftentimes they go without receiving their payments to do simple things like pay their staff. And that is just unconscionable. So I've done the work to make sure that Black people are working, and that the nonprofits that are doing the business of our city are actually funded in a timely manner. I've also, on my own organizing, worked with a group of Black folks to ensure that our businesses that were impacted by the COVID crisis had funds to make it through, and to repair storefronts that were damaged in some of the uprisings. I think that it's important to make sure that communities are taken care of and not have to wait on the city to bail us out whenever we need help. I've worked to ban the box at local developments when we have large scale developments in the city of Oakland. I've worked to ensure that Black folks have access, and I've wholeheartedly supported our union family to make sure that they have strong contracts. So the majority of folks that are working and lifting up our city through city work are paid equitably. They have strong contracts, and they have access to affordable housing right here in the city, so they can live where they work. I think that is so critical, and it's not just for our city workers, but it's for Oakland teachers. It is for all of the folks who do the service of making our city a wonderful place to be. And I just think that it's critical to actually do what we say. So when I'm elected, if I have the honor of serving in this capacity of elected leadership, then I plan to contribute my salary, at least 50% of my salary, to creating a fund to make sure that our businesses and small homeowners that are struggling to hold on to their spaces are taken care of.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And now, Councilmember McElhaney.
Thank you so much for this question. And I wanted to, there's been so many things that we've done. First and foremost, I'm sorry, there's somebody talking? I'm sorry, Anthony, can you guys hear me? Because somebody was talking.
That's on me. I'll find out who it was. But go ahead, Councilman. I'll give you your time back.
Thank you. So first and foremost, to make sure that we're supporting Black businesses, I worked privately to help make sure that many of our legacy businesses did not fall into foreclosure in 2013. That included Marcus Books, several of our barbecue companies. We moved to make sure that the UNIA building, the Marcus Garvey building, didn't go into foreclosure, working with Bishop Watkins. We had to fight to defend the right of 2 Black developers. The only 2 developers with city contractors would does those projects. That's Alan Dones and Michael Johnson. We worked very diligently to help with creating the disparity study that would allow us to move forward in a 209 environment to increase Black contracting. I partnered with Marshawn Lynch and Josh Johnson to ensure that Oaklanders ran the West Oakland Youth Center, ensuring another legacy. We created the Equity Caucus this year so that we could make sure that the Flatlands got their fair share. $8 million going directly to small businesses and contractors, another $2 million for artists focused on Black arts and the equity impact. We helped keep the West Oakland Health Center, partnering with Supervisor Carson and Barbara Lee. We created a fund to make sure that our landlords would be able to get the support that they needed so that they would not go into foreclosure. There have been so many ways in which we've just gotten started on this issue of Black enterprise, which is often overlooked as we seek to support those who are Black and poor. But the Black middle class is the reason why we have a Black philanthropy that actually holds our families together. Going forward, I am leading an effort and made sure that the city of Oakland was at the forefront of the Opportunities for All Act to overturn 209 so that we can do racial redress for the city's lack of contracting. And this includes making sure that those contractors are paid on time by insisting on our prompt payment ordinance. Black enterprise is at the core of making sure that we have Black development. We have worked with numerous restaurants and owners to get their restaurants open, removing red tape and being a champion both at the county level and the local level. So whether that's Oeste or the new Horn Barbecue, we know Black businesses know that they have a champion in me.
Thank you so much, Councilmember McElhaney. We are now going into our next question, and Mr. Anthony Wilson will ask this question as well.
Okay. Hi, candidates. In Oakland, over 70% of our unhoused brothers and sisters are Black. To some, it looks like the city has turned a blind eye to the housing crisis of Black residents, as gentrification may have displaced tens of thousands of Oaklanders who otherwise would love to stay here. How do you plan to respond to the homelessness crisis? And then how do you see new housing developments as exacerbating or mitigating the crisis?
Anthony, how much time do they have to answer this question?
So each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to this question.
And we will start off with Ms. Carol Pike.
I implore everyone within the sound of my voice to do your own search for the truth, to do your own independent search for what is accurate. It is not by accident that I'm endorsed by every housing organization in the city of Oakland, every community-based organization in the city of Oakland, by the Black workers. So yes, I have to say that the majority of our city workers are Black folks. So there is no competition when it comes to what I say being what I mean. The fact that there are the majority of Black folks living in homelessness are in District 3 is also not a coincidence. All of this market rate housing, all of this market rate development is a part of the Jerry Brown administration that he started years ago and that his chief of staff continued. And existing folks that are funded by developers and in the real estate lobby continue to push forward. So I think it's important to have an anti-speculation tax, a vacant property tax that actually addresses some of the blight that's existing in our communities and stops the gentrification that's coming from people who buy up homes in bulk, like the Wedgwood Corporation that bought Moms for Housing, that buys 200 to 300 homes per month, flips them and sells them that are out of reach for most Black folks in this city. There are a myriad of things that we can do. We can invest in community land trusts, which I was told a while ago don't actually work, but have been able to buy the homes of several Black families that I'm in direct relationship with. We need to stop and do our research about what is really happening and follow the money. I represent the people, and I always have. The power is always with the people. And if you do your homework, you'll know that what I say is what I mean, and that is the truth.
Thank you, Ms. Pike. Councilmember McElhaney, you're up next.
The challenge that we have with homelessness has not begun in the last 4 years or 5 years or since Jerry Brown. Oakland has had a chronic condition with underhousing and underperformance in this marketplace since I moved here in the 80s as a teenager. So when I look at solving this problem, I look at it on many levels, and we look at 3 different ways that we have to deal with it: triage, acute response, and chronic conditions. In the chronic conditions, we know that we have an economy globally that is unfair and unjust. And that's going to require changes at the congressional level. That's why we work to flip the Senate. In the acute care is where we're seeing the most ready need right now, as people have finally caught up to the advocacy that we started in 2013 as soon as we came into this office to change how Oakland responded to the on-street conditions. I'm proud to have partnered with Supervisor Carson to pilot the Compassionate Communities model, which brought homeless people into the discussion and created the hall. It allowed us to bring services in place, breaking up this notion that we shouldn't provide sanitation services to people on the street. And it also led to innovation in terms of getting the mayor's attention around the cabins. And we must do more. This month, we're going to be examining a new strategic deployment of the increased resources that I fought for from 2014 forward. Even against the establishment like of EBHO, who didn't want to see dedications of money just to the homelessness because it shrunk the pie for the development for people above the 30% AMI. But the world has changed. EBHO and others have now come along to say that we have to do this work. And as we are doing the work now, we are increasing the amount of revenues from the state level, but we have to deal with HUD and get that back fully funded so that we can get our vouchers and others. So again, triage acute and chronic care. It's not new, but we have solutions and we have to move them forward. Did I stay within the time that time?
Yeah, you had about 3 seconds left.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So we're just about at time, and there was a lot of amazing questions in the chat box. And like I said to the District 1 candidates, I feel like some of the questions that folks feel like that haven't been asked in other discussions. I really implore you all to read the chat and really be able to build that within your some speeches you all move forward in the race. We're doing a minute closing for all of you all.
Wait,
because
Seneca, Mr. Brown, Mr. Scott, sorry, Mr. Senator Scott.
Sorry, Seneca.
I'm gonna use some of that time to make it known. It's not a two-way race here. There's other people in the community who are viable candidates who can help this city. So on to the homeless. It's a problem, and in 2 minutes, we ain't gonna solve it. But what we will talk about is really putting our focus on where solutions matter. And that is immediately finding housing for people who are fit to go move into them. And let's be serious here. Part of my preparation has been actually spend an intense amount of time in encampment. I've met full families. I've been in places where there are dozens of kids. It is really getting intense out here. If you don't know that, I advise you to go and walk through before you make some solutions with people who you don't really know much about. So those solutions are mental health services, right? You have to spread the amount of equity in how we approach this. We cannot have 56% of the county's homeless in District 3. That is just unreal. It's mind-boggling. Amongst 1.7 million people, we got 10,000 people who live outside, and we can't solve these problems in one of the richest areas in the world. It's racist, it's deliberate, it's the end result of hundreds of years of policy and anti-Blackness. And we need to make a stand, and we need to make it now. We need people who are willing to actually do the things in City Hall that they say they're gonna do, and we need revolutionary candidates for this time. So it's a hard one to really approach how to immediately solve homeless at the same time end illegal dumping, which are two separate problems. LPD's failure to stop people from dumping, like literally where they dump twice a week and clean it up. I've been filming a campaign video. I've seen it dumped and cleaned up in 4 days. You telling me you can't catch a perpetrator? That's BS. Come on now. So we got to do better. Thank you for the time, and I appreciate it.
I apologize again, Seneca. I'm very aware that this is more than a two-person race, and so it was not my intention to leave you out this last question. But that means
I took the opportunity to be dramatic at your liberty, but thank you. I appreciate it.
I hope you're an NAACP member. We are now going to closing statements. I'm going to start off with Carol Pine. You have a minute. Thank you.
In spite of all obstacles, I've stood and fought for my community. I came here as a Black woman. Even before people knew what I would be, they knew I would be Black. And I have always fought for my community, even when it was unpopular and I was taking the fire so other people could do easier things. I have fought and stood for what's in the best interest of Black folks. I am a trusted community leader. I have been in every aspect of organizing for jobs, housing, education, Medicare for all, every single issue and people area that impacts our community. I've been there. And it is not because of public office. I've not sought to run for office. People drafted me into this position. I'm very impactful as an organizer and the director of my organization. And so no, the Moms for Housing that actually took this house to make a statement about Black people not having access to resources was to bring attention to an issue that people are not paying attention to. Black folks are under assault in this country and in this city. And our administration is not acting with the fierce urgency of now to truly address these problems as they see fit, as they're needed. So that is why I'm running. I'm not running because I'm trying to get attention. I prefer to actually act in anonymity. It's more effective that way. But it is the times that are transformative where people are calling for change, and I'm stepping into it fully to be a leader in this district.
Where can people find you?
HaroldFife.org, really simple.
Thank you so much. Councilmember McElhaney.
It has been the privilege and opportunity of my life to serve my community. And it's been hard, because just because you become elected doesn't mean you stop facing racial barriers or the attacks that come from without and within. When I ran in 2012, I was a long-time candidate because I wasn't backed by any of the institutional powers, not the big labor unions, not any of that. I came with a heart from my people, and the people endorsed me. And so I'm pleased that over 300 regular folks in the community have endorsed this campaign, and that we still stand unbought, unbossed, and unbothered by the attempts to divide our community. Ms. Fife has been a fighter. Mr. Seneca is dedicated. We will not allow this to take away from the fact that we all love our community, and we are here. Now, while they want to talk about how we get better, I welcome them to the table, and I always have open door, open arms. But we don't give up the power of incumbency over minor differences. I'm still in this fight because I love this town, and we are moving forward, not on what I'm going to do, but what we have done. Check out the record at LynetteForOakland.com. on tenant protection and landlord rights, on moving forward on our environment and protecting our babies from lead. We have moved forward on decreasing gun violence and opening up opportunities for our families who are coming home from incarceration. The stuff ain't easy. It's not always welcome, but it is right. And we are doing it right now with the fierce urgency now, not for gimmicks or headlines, but to make effective policy that moves our city forward. We do that in partnership with the entire community, so our gains are not given up to blowback. I didn't come here to.
Thank you so much, Councilmember McElhaney. And last, but certainly not least, of course, we have Mr. Seneca Scott to bring us home.
Thank you. So my campaign platform is Neighbors Together, Pragmatic Solutions for District 3. We deserve better. I link my website in the chat box, and I'll link a campaign video in the chat box. And I want to focus in closing on my one-year promise, which I think is very something I thought a lot about, which is I'm not leaving D3. Y'all elect me in D3 and put me in office. I'll be here for my first year, and I won't be leaving the district at all. That means no Berkeley, no Emeryville. Don't invite me to certain parts of the lake. Certain parts I'm good, from what I understand from the map. But that map is my boundary. I believe that we have everything that we need right here. We need to be focused on our local businesses and our local communities to really be the change. We need someone. This is the most local of political offices. This isn't Senate or Congress. This is for D3 residents. This is about fixing the issues that we see in front of us in our 25 neighborhoods and doing that together. So thank you for the forum and the opportunity this evening, everyone. Y'all be safe out there.
Thank you so much to all the candidates that are running for District 3. We look forward to hearing more about your candidacy. And please drop in the chat box ways in which everyone on this call can get to know you better, how to donate, how to volunteer, how to walk for you, or drop literature, whatever it is. Please make sure you put that information in the chat box. I know we're at time, but I would definitely say one of the biggest races, arguably, in terms of number of residents for last, and that is the at-large race, and we have Derek Johnson and Councilmember Kaplan here to join us. And so we want to make sure that we give them the level of respect and attention that we gave other folks. And so I will now turn it over to Derek and Councilmember Kaplan to do a 1-minute opening statement. And as you all recall, Anthony will be doing time for us. And so when you're at 30 seconds, he will give you a thumbs up. And if you go 5 to 10 seconds over your allotted time for the other questions, which is 2 minutes, he will mute you. So want to get started, and I'm going to start opening statements off with Mr. Johnson.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you for having me this evening. And NAACP, it's just an honor to be here tonight. You know, these are some uniquely challenging times. I'm running for Oakland City Council at large because this unique moment demands a different kind of leader. We need a council member who understands the struggles of the most vulnerable in our community, and I understand that all too well. I was born and raised in West Oakland Acorns housing projects by a single mother that worked 3 jobs just so I can make it. I believe our council member must have a proven ability to transform lives for those who need it most. My restaurant, Home of Chicken and Waffles, has created hundreds of jobs over the years, and I'm proud to say that at one time or another, up to 70% of our employees are formerly incarcerated individuals, and they're all individuals right here that live in Oakland. I always put Oakland first. I've also helped nonprofits, foundations, and the city itself reduce violence, improve job training programs, and provide education opportunities for low-income youth. Now I'm ready to help lead a COVID-19 recovery for Oakland that leaves nobody behind and move us forward on racial justice. I'm honored to be endorsed by our next vice president and our homegirl, Senator Kamala Harris, Assembly Member Buffy Wicks, Mayor Libby Schaaf, Board of Equalization Chair Malia Cohen, Park Board President. All right, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Kaplan, 1 minute for your opening statement.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for having us and for having this really important dialogue tonight. My name is Rebecca Kaplan, and I'm honored to serve as your Oakland City Council member at large, representing the entire city of Oakland, and I'd be honored to have your vote. I have been working actively with community to fight for a city of racial justice. That includes fighting to make sure that Oakland did the disparity study, and I'm going to put that link in the chat, which community was fighting for and the administration was resisting, so that we could identify and remedy the underrepresentation of Black businesses in our community. I have fought for and won funding to launch civilian mental health responders to respond to mental health needs. And previous to serving on the Oakland City Council, I worked at AC Transit, where we extended all-night bus service and worked to make sure that we had transit service and jobs throughout our community. I'm incredibly honored to be now the endorsed candidate of the Democratic Party, as well as the Oakland East Bay Democratic Club, the Honorable Andre Swanson, Elihu Harris, and many others. And thank you all. Look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much. So we asked all candidates, school board and city council, the same question. What is your Black agenda? NAACP, we're unapologetically Black. And for this forum in particular, we're focusing on Black issues, Black people, Black business, Black community. And so we'd love to spend 2 minutes with each one of you all talking about what your Black agenda is. And since we started with Mr. Johnson, I'm going to start with Councilmember Kaplan.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, to have a Black agenda in Oakland requires being unapologetic about the fact that it is and must be a Black agenda. And that means recognizing and fighting for changes, laws, policies, and funding that deal specifically with what's being done around our African American community. That includes, yes, fighting not only for the disparity to be funded, but now that the administration's trying to hide it because it shows how badly Black businesses are being treated, fighting to get it released. And I know we might all need to continue to fight for that, and I won't stop. It means fighting to change how special event permits are done in the city of Oakland and successfully passing through council by unanimous vote to take special events out of the police department and have it be handled by civilians so that the police department can't continue to block and shut down events like Festival at the Lake in Karijama by insisting that they pay unreasonable sums of money. It means fighting for real job training in our community, like the Cypress Mandela Center, funding for our one-stop job centers and other programs that create that access. It means recognizing that we need a program that includes jobs and freedom. That means pushing back against police brutality and misconduct, but also recognizing that we need to uplift our local small businesses, such as the funding we fought for and won in the budget that's being given out through our ethnic chambers, including the African American Chamber of Commerce, to support our small businesses, fighting for free Wi-Fi in our communities, and working to make sure that these actions are handed out in a way that is inclusive specifically of the Black community, and to recognize that when they built Fruitvale Transit Village, they were unapologetic about making it a Latino-oriented business district, and we need to similarly be supporting and uplifting Black business districts in Oakland, including both in downtown and East Oakland. And it includes working with our faith-based communities, including our churches, such as the law we fought for and won this year to allow churches to more easily build housing on property they own. And it also means listening to and working with community and a wide array of groups that I've been honored to work with and be supported by, including Black Women Organized for Political Action, the John George Democratic Club, and many others. Thank you all so very much, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I don't know if that was a wave or not, but
It was a wave.
I'll take it.
You'll get a thumbs up, emoji thumbs up when you have 30 seconds, and then I cut you off.
All right, thank you.
Our next question is, again, sorry, I'm Anthony Wilson, super excited to be here with you all to talk about the city of Oakland. Oakland is the home of the Black Panther Party.
I think my compatriot didn't yet get a chance to answer.
Sorry, compatriot.
It's all right.
My compatriot, no, look, I mean, I know this is a competitive election, but we're all also people, and
It's been a long night. I'm so sorry, Mr. Johnson. Go ahead.
That's okay. Well, I'm unapologetically Black, so there you go. I have a very serious Black agenda, and thanks NAACP for just hosting this event. Here in Oakland, we desperately need change, but we need to meet this moment and take effective action and get us through it together. We would need new leadership, new courageous leadership that is rooted in this community and that speaks up for this community, and not just around election time. We need leadership that will tell uncomfortable truths and tackle tough, thorny, and powerful and emotional issues. I'm not a politician. I'm a third-generation Oaklander and community leader who loves our city and is ready to help that change. So here's my vision. We need an unwavering commitment to tearing down systems of oppression. We must engage in honest discussion about systemic racism, and how we dismantle those systems in government and organization and in individuals' hearts and minds. We need to tackle these issues here locally in a uniquely open way as a diverse and progressive city. We are uniquely positioned to show the nation how it's done. Finally, reforming and redirecting policing. I have 3 R's. We need to reconstruct, reimagine, and repurpose what policing is looking like, and really change the culture of policing. Remove officers who demonstrate bias, racism, and other dangerous behaviors that threaten the safety of Black people and anyone in general from our police force. We need to ensure economic justice for all Oaklanders, fight to increase housing security and strengthen renter protections, and anti-predatory lending legislations beyond the current economic downturn, so Oaklanders can afford to live in their city. Support efforts to create more Black-owned banks and serve the Black community with fair and generous banking and lending practices. And speaking of the Black cultural zone, Carolyn Johnson, a longtime friend, actually referred her to that job and spoke highly of her to Gloria Clark-Squirrell, who made the decision to hire her and actually put that plan in action out in East Oakland. Nurturing Black businesses and those who have dreams of starting one. I'm a Black business in Oakland. I've been a Black business in Oakland for over 3 decades. I've hired formerly incarcerated, I've hired those from Oakland. And it's very imperative that we hire our community. We need to save Black businesses. Black businesses imposing 47% as to 17% of their white counterparts. That's unacceptable. Thank you.
So now I'll hit you with the next question. Again, Anthony Wilson here. I will not cut you all off in the future. So the next question is about police reform. So thank you all for even thinking about that already. Oakland is home of the Black Panther Party, Angela Davis, and gave birth to a national movement of community protection for Black people. This year, we experienced the George Floyd revolution and had to face again our city's ugly history with police brutality against its citizens. So our question for you, one, do you support cutting the OPD budget? And if so, how do you reimagine policing in Oakland? And we'll start with you, Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you very much. Yes, I support shifting things out of the police and to civilians that can more effectively be done by civilians. And I have been working with community to act for this even before it was something that the national media was paying attention to. And for example, we know that so often when police are sent to a mental health call, it ends up going very badly. And so 2 years ago, we fought for and won funding to create a program for Oakland to be able to have civilian mental health response. And then this year we passed money in the budget to launch that program that we were able to fight for. We also recognize that the way special events have been handled historically by the police department has had a disproportionate impact on African-American businesses that were charged more and made to pay for more police to be allowed to have their events. And so we brought something through council to change that and civilianize the handling of that. In addition, I am fighting for us to change how we do traffic enforcement. If you look at how speeding enforcement is done in California, it is done by only police, and there is a huge racial disparity in who gets pulled over, as well as the fact that a lot of people are speeding and not being stopped and endangering our community. And if you look at states where they've expanded and changed how they do speeding enforcement to not rely only on police to it, you know what happens? People who speed get pulled over. And that is better for justice and better for safety. We also need to recognize that we have a problem of police accountability. Not all cops are bad and not all cops are good. But if you have no independent oversight, then the ones who commit wrongdoing get away with it, and that perpetuates that cycle. And that's part of why I fought for and authored Measure S1 on your November ballot to provide independent oversight for the police department. Thank you.
And now Mr. Derek Johnson.
Okay. Well, as a Black man growing up in West Oakland, I'm all too familiar with police. I was personally and have been profiled and pulled over, and first thing asked when I was pulled over is, am I on parole or probation, which escalates a problem right there from the start. I think that what we need to do is look at what defunding means. When we talk about defunding, we talk about dismantling. And I know that we need safety now. I really am a supporter of Obama's 21st century policing policies, which our current president is defunded and dismantled. I think what we need to do is, one, reconstruct our police department. We need to look at the culture. We need to be training on the front end, and we need to be accountable on the back end. Culture in policing is what we have to work on. And we also need to reform the police department. We need to hire more Black and brown brothers and sisters on our police force that come from the neighborhoods that they're sworn in to serve and protect. We also need to reimagine what policing is like through midnight basketball, coffee with a cop, any type of event or activity that can engage law enforcement with the community. I just read an article in Chicago last week where they have this My Hood, My City, My Block, or I think it's My Block, My Hood, My City, and where they have stipend teenagers that are from the neighborhoods, and they take the cadets and they take them around the neighborhood. They introduce them to important figures in the neighborhood. They introduce them to the rec center. They introduce them to the hood, basically, block by block. And those are the type of things that will change how we view police, how law enforcement views the community. And until we can really reform and reshape the culture of policing, that's what we have to do. It's going to take some time, but we have to do it, and together we can make that done, because we have to stop the violence and the killings that's going on against our Black and brown people.
Both of you are ending like 5 seconds before, so that's good.
Thank you.
Back to you, Ms. Moody.
I will ask the next question. City council members are responsible for supporting all of its citizens and ensuring social and economic equity and opportunity for everyone in their district. There are many Black-owned businesses and organizations across the town that are doing incredible work for so many Oaklanders. Can you name specific things you've done to support Black organizations and businesses in Oakland? And what specific policies would you adopt as a councilman? Or have you adopted as a councilman? I will start with Mr. Johnson.
All right. Well, thank you for that question. As far as I am a Black business, I own a Black business. I've owned one for 30 years, a car wash, and now the restaurant business. I'm the owner of the Home of Chicken and Waffles in Jack London Square. What have I done? I have been involved with just about every community-based organization in this city in one way or another by donating my time and my food to make sure that their events go off with a success, and they're not burdened with the expense of food. I donate it. I also hire 100% Oaklanders. Majority of my staff, as I mentioned before, are formerly incarcerated individuals, and there's been nothing more rewarding to me than watching young men and women come through my doors with no hope, tainted, very bad attitude, very low soft skills as far as they never had a job and have been living a life of crime in and out of jail. To see them turn their lives around, get a car, get an apartment, and better yet, get that first paycheck. That's been the most rewarding thing that I could give to the city, and that's what I would promote when I get into this seat. We have to create more jobs. It's all noted and it's statistical that when people are employed, we have more morale, we also have lower crime, and we need jobs in our city. And that's something that we need to make sure that Oakland is much more business friendly and write ordinances that protect all levels of business, large, medium, and small, and particularly those in the African American community. I work side by side with the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce. I'm a board member of the Oakland Workforce Development Board, where I've helped and voted to give funding to organizations that do just that train the Black and brown people, especially the Black brothers and sisters in our community, to get them jobs. And then they usually send them over to me. So I'm a job creator. I'm going to continue to create jobs. And I want to make sure that we have a city where we don't have double-digit unemployment, especially in the African American community.
Thank you. Councilmember Kaplan.
Yes, thank you very much. So one of the things that I know we're all working on right now to help support these efforts is to overturn Proposition 209, which was passed deceptively in California and is really about silencing our Black businesses. And we need to overturn that on our ballot this November with Prop 16. In addition, at the local level in Oakland, I have fought for policies to expand our local and small business utilization. I have fought against the racial disparities in city contracting, and as I mentioned, fought for Oakland to conduct the disparity study that is needed, and am now fighting for it to be released while the administration is trying to keep it hidden. In addition, I fought directly for funding to support our local African-American businesses respond to the COVID crisis by advocating for funding being distributed through the African-American Chamber, as well as for funding for local businesses on the East 14th Street corridor to be provided. We've also fought for funding for our job centers, and this is also important. Oakland has job centers, the One Stop Job Center and others that help our local businesses succeed and that help African Americans get jobs and those businesses connect. And those have often been underfunded, and we fought through the city council to allocate funding for those businesses. We also recognize that when construction projects are going on, that when African American owned contractors are brought in, they are more likely to bring in Black owned subcontractors and Black owned workers. And so we've been fighting to include African American contractors in our construction projects, as well as fighting for the job training programs. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, candidates, for answering that question. And our last question of the night for you all is about homelessness and housing, which I know is at the top of your minds. So in Oakland, over 70% of our unhoused brothers and sisters are Black. To some folks, it may look like the city has turned a blind eye to the housing crisis of Black residents, as gentrification may have displaced tens of thousands of our Oaklanders who would have rather wanted to stay here. How do you plan to respond to the homelessness crisis? And then, how do you see housing developments as exacerbating or mitigating the crisis?
What order?
Oh, I'm sorry. and I'll start with you, Councilmember.
Absolutely.
Give me 1 second to get my time. And go.
Thank you. So the homelessness crisis, first of all, has grown dramatically in recent years, and it's important to acknowledge that. And I think people often, when they talk about it in shorthand in the press, miss why it's grown, which is that the rate of displacement has been going up and up and up. And so even as a certain number of people per year are helped out of homelessness, that the number of people being pushed into homelessness through wrongful evictions, through predatory foreclosures, and through excessive and often illegal rent increases has gone up dramatically. And it is by far disproportionately Black people who are being subjected to those things. And that's part of why I fought for and won money in the budget to fund emergency tenant assistance and anti-displacement, to make sure that we are working to do what we can to keep people in their homes in the first place, which, by the way, is also much cheaper than waiting until someone is pushed out onto the street. In addition, we have fought to have better treatment for those who are living on our streets and sidewalks. And so that includes specific steps such as pushing the city to buy vacant and unused dorms and hotels. We bought a hotel last year, and now just 2 weeks ago, we authorized the purchase of a dorm in Rockridge, which is also important that we have affordable housing and homeless housing in every neighborhood throughout our entire city. And those programs, like the Henry Robinson Multi-Service Center, where people have a room to stay in as well as services on site, have the highest success rate among homeless programs. And that's part of why I've fought to expand those. We've also expanded the ability of private property owners to put new units on their lot, including through accessory dwelling units, through the use of RVs that are regulated with sanitation, and through the passage of a law to allow our churches to build on their lots without too many barriers. And so these are all components to how we solve homelessness. We have to prevent more people from being pushed into homelessness while we work to expand housing, including affordable housing for those who need it.
Thank you so much, Councilmember. And now, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, this homelessness is very dear to my heart. It's one of the main reasons why I decided to run for this seat. Growing up in Oakland, being born and raised here, I grew up in Oakland where we didn't see encampments all on the streets, and definitely didn't see our Black and brown brothers and sisters and youth and the LGBTQ community youth being pushed into the streets as they are now. Homelessness is a humanitarian crisis, and with thousands of our fellow Oaklanders tragically living in the streets even before COVID-19, we have to do something. It's a public health emergency. Prior to this pandemic, Oakland developed innovation solutions to reduce homelessness. The Oaklanders have been falling into homelessness faster than we could rehouse them. And we need to start scaling up on our strategic partnerships with the county, state, and the feds. I have a long-standing relationship with Kimmy Watkins, who are our public health director. We need to dissect what the homelessness is. Yes, there are a portion of that population that needs mental and health services. We need to get that for them. There's another section of this population that has been displaced. It's amazing to me that there has not been any vote or any policy written to really divert some funds from either the Affordable Housing Trust Fund or create some funding and pull some funding from somewhere in these budgets and divert it to nonprofit organizations like Keep Oakland House and Building Futures. That Keep Oakland House has kept up to 1,500 to 2,000 people from being put into the homeless situation. So I will fight day in, day out to make sure that we cure this problem, not just manage it better, not just put people in a building and we say that we're going to give them services and we don't. My restaurant is underneath one of those buildings and there's no wraparound services. People with, they are being housed, but it's creating a drug, sex trafficking, and, just more of a crime environment. And we can't create try to eliminate one problem and create a whole nother one. We have to eliminate this homeless issue. And the only way to do that is having the hard conversations and stop grandstanding and being politicians and get it done.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Mr. Johnson.
That's okay.
Okay, Ms. Moody.
Thank you so much, candidates. We're now going to do a closing statement from both of you. And we have a minute for each. And since Mr. Johnson just finished, I'm going to let Councilmember Kaplan start us off with closing statements. Thank you. And please let me know how to get in contact with you.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much. I know it's been a long evening and a challenging couple of weeks. And so I really want to appreciate everybody being here tonight and taking the time. It's been an honor to talk with you and to hear your questions. My website is kaplanforoakland.org. I would be honored to have your vote. And also I would welcome any further questions or follow-up. In addition to the fact that I'm on your November ballot, I did also want to mention that we have a couple of important ballot measures. The youth vote ballot measure, which would allow 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in local school board elections. That's Measure QQ, for which I was lead author. That will help expand our democracy and encourage young people who helped write this measure to have active civic participation. We also have Measure S1 to provide for independence of the police commission, and that will ensure that we can have true oversight to respond to misconduct. I also really want to encourage everybody to vote early. We want to make sure that the shenanigans with the Postal Service don't undermine our vote. We've been pushing hard to get Alameda County Register of Voters to put more ballot drop boxes and more safe distance voting sites throughout our county and especially in Oakland. And we've posted on our website how to find those ballot drop boxes. So I encourage people to make sure that we get our ballots in early and get them in safely. And I will put my website and direct contact in the chat again. And thank you very much. I'm honored to be endorsed by a wide array of people and groups, including Pastor J. Alfred Smith Sr., Sandre Swanson, the majority of the Oakland City Council, and many others, including the Democratic Party. I'd be honored to have your vote. Thank you so much for having us.
And Mr. Johnson, I'm going in 90 seconds.
Okay, well, once again, thank you, NAACP. I mean, throughout the course of history, the NAACP has fought for civil rights and advancement of all colored people. Being an African-American male here, growing up in the inner city of Oakland, I will lead Oakland with our Oakland values. I will lead our city through these unprecedented crises. Our North Star must always be the Oakland values that we share. I will put Oakland first. Let's focus on our community and prioritize passion, understanding, equity, and justice. I'll be humble. I will listen. I will be accessible. My door will always be open. I will be engaged in the community. The community is my lifestyle. It's who I am. It's who made me. And I will continue to give and give and give to the city to make it to the resilient, brilliant, bright place that it should be. I'll do everything possible. No gimmicks, no political stunts, no grandstanding. We will compete in steady leadership with follows through on all of our commitments. And I'll unleash Oakland's creative spirit. Our diverse and innovative city can find new and creative solutions in this unprecedented challenge. We have to keep small businesses. We have to keep Black businesses. And I will work with the NAACP, the Oakland African Chamber of Commerce, and all the citizens of this city to make that happen. And also remember that October 19th is the last day to register to vote. And that's very important. We need to get that message out in our community so that we get those ballots in our community and we vote. It's very, very important. John Lewis, I'm a Fiskite. He's a fellow Fiskite. I'm a proud graduate of HBCU. And, he served many days in jail just for us the right to vote. So we need to make sure that we honor his legacy and those that have come before us. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I am endorsed by the Young Dems of the East Bay. I'm also endorsed, as I mentioned before, by our next Vice President, Senator Kamala Harris.
Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to now turn it over to President Holland, President of the Oakland NAACP branch, to do closing. But just want to remind folks, if you are not a member of the NAACP, please do become a member. I'm going to drop that information in the chat box. Our code for the Oakland chapter is 1051, so please make sure you do so. Our next candidate forum for districts 5 and 7 will be September 21st. And I know we had an issue with capping, with having to cap the number of attendees. We will make sure that is circumvented for our next time. So please make sure you join us. And thank you so much for everyone that came and stuck in there an extra 30 minutes. President Highland, I'm turning it over to you.
Some companies still have HR stuck between employees and their data. entering data.
President Holland, you're on mute.
More and more sensitive personal data. And it doesn't just drag HR down, it drags the entire business down with inefficiency, errors, and waste.
There we go.
Thank you. Thank you. I got this brand new laptop, unfortunately. I don't know how to operate it. But anyway, I'd like to thank the moderators, first of all. You guys did a fantastic job. Just outstanding. You know, really outstanding. And also, I'd like to thank the candidates for city council. The city council position is very, very important, especially this year. The importance is such that at this election on November the 3rd may be a change in our democracy as we know it if we don't be careful. So that's why we're wearing these vote shirts tonight, to remind each and every one of you, you need to vote. Also, we had the good fortune of having some of our Imani youth members on board and listening to you politicians to see whether or not they want to choose that path as a career, because it's a very difficult job that politicians have, and you can't just going to realize that. But the one thing that we're going to ask of you is that will there be a measurable difference after one of you is elected for whatever position you're running for? We're going to look for results because we need to have them. So please don't forget our Black agenda. We have troubles in our schools that we've not been able to address properly. We have problems in our community in terms of health and education and employment. All these things that have continued to occur over and over again in this city. So we need to have some measurable amount of success in order to decide whether or not you folks are the right people to have as our leaders. But again, I want to thank you, and we're going to continue this next week. But we're also going to have in mind that November 3rd, we got to vote. If you don't vote, people die for your right to vote. If that's not important enough for you to vote, then something's wrong with you. And I have a real difficult time talking to people who don't want to vote because it's not important. It's very, very important to me. Schools are important. Oakland's important to me. Oakland's the best city in America. Let's not forget that. So thank all of you for attending tonight, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much, everyone. Good night.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful one. Bye-bye.
Go well. Peace and blessings.
Thank you so much.
Views on the line on here.
You said this.
NAACP folks, please stay on.
Thank you. Phyllis White, could you stay on, please?
I hope that y'all don't mind. I'm going to eat my dinner while we debrief. I am starving.
We're asking for all NAACP members to stay on, please. Only NAACP members?
Non-candidates. We have some of the candidates.
I'm sorry, I was reading the chat. I'm out, y'all. I ain't trying to get out. I was trying to get caught up on the chat. You all
Thank you,
did such a
Lynette.
wonderful job.
Well, hey, everybody. For those of you who are watching, that was part of District 3 and all of the at-large interviews. So, and I will continue to host interviews of others and get them out. I also I have tried Go is my guest. He wants to come on and talk as well. Some interesting repartee, as they say, that I'll comment on at another time. Hey, subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. See ya.